Welcome, everybody, to the Celtics Double Take podcast. Dylan McCaffrey and James Quan here again today. The Boston Celtics are back up to 500. There's a lot to be happy about from this week. We may be the 7th seed. We may be behind the New York Knicks in the standings. But after everything that went down this week, I feel like it's a new team, clean slate. We'll get all into it. But first things first, right off the bat, just our best and worst takeaways from the last 7 days. What do you think?
I feel like my best has got to be Fournier. We really just got him for free. Two second rounders, like for this 20 point a game score, exactly what we needed coming off the bench. Just like, I know Bill Simmons was saying that, like, he thinks that's enough. Do I think it's enough? No. I think that, like, now we're just like one piece away, but it's a huge plus. I mean, having that guy, like, what do we get with our second round picks anyways? It just feels like we got something for free. The worst, we lost another close game. Like, that Bucks game was a little bit of a heartbreaker. The first Bucks game, totally had it. And we kind of shipped away the guy who missed the game-winning shot, but it's kind of like, I don't know at this point. I'm trying to think of like how many close games we've lost, and it's got to be like the most of any season in Celtics history. Like, games decided by like 5 or less points. We've choked away so many of these, and it got me thinking of like what would be our record if like we didn't choke away these games. I feel like we'd have like 30 wins, but yeah, it was a heartbreaker. At least we got this guy for free that is really going to help us out and are basically like our biggest weakness. So not a bad week. Not
Not at all. My best for this week is because I've been crapping on him all year. It's Danny Ainge, because if he went through this trade deadline and we did nothing, then I would have been really upset. And he got us the piece I really thought we needed. So I'll give him the credit that I haven't given him all year. Thank you, Danny. The other mini best of the week is Luke Cornett last night, the murder cornet, getting us the win against the Thunder. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And the worst has got to be for me, Daniel Tice, his farewell, missing the wide open game winner. Would have redeemed a lot for Celtics fans, especially if that was like his last moment in Boston. But he couldn't hit it, and that's a true testimony to the Daniel Tice era. Just wasn't quite enough.
I think it's like a microcosm for his entire tenure. Just like wasn't enough. In the end, just wasn't enough. And
not quite enough. Yeah. That Bucks game, we knew going in that that's like that last game, like with this squad, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we went down big. It looked like our typical, like a blowout. Like it was not a good game for a long time. Tatum and Brown Tatum didn't have the best game. Kemba played all right. Brown played all right. Teague actually had a good night. Teague's last game was a Celtic. Wasn't terrible. He had 15 points, shot well. But with 4 minutes left in the third, we're down by 21 points. It looks like it's all over. Giannis basically has no points at this point. Like we're losing to Bobby Portis and Middleton and DiVincenzo and Brook Lopez. And down with 3 minutes left in the game, we're down by 9 points. And then a Tatum and 1, a Kemba 3, and a Brown 3. And it's a 2-point game with a minute and a half left. I did not expect us to come all the way back and be in this game at the end.
I mean, we scored 33 points in the fourth quarter, really put up a fight. It got me thinking, like, I feel like we don't have problems, like big problems with Giannis. I feel like when we face the Bucks, I feel like Giannis is never like the big main reason of like why we would lose, or like why, like, I don't know. I don't think he was like the big difference maker. Again, it's their role players, but this was just kind of like the nail, like driving the nail like in that we're like, damn, we really just need to make a move. We're choking every close game. And it's kind of like, I feel like this is like Tice's last like chance. Like this was like you said, it would have been a great way to like see him off. He hits the game winner, rides off to the sunset. But I know I really like tore into Tice his entire tenure with the Celtics, but I really do think this was a really great example of like the kind of game that he plays, where he didn't even have a bad game this game. Like I think he was
an
solid.
Offensive foul like that, like got us a possession to win the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we said it before in a little group chat that I think he is just a great backup center. And the biggest thing of him leaving isn't that like I think that, you know, him leaving makes us better by any means. It's just that Brad Stevens won't play him like as much.
Yep.
And like for some reason, Brad has always had this like kind of love affair with Daniel Tice, where he just like refuses to start Robert Williams, where he refuses to see that this guy is just definitely a backup center, is undersized. And I feel like Danny Ainge was just kind of like, listen, I'm not going to give you the choice anymore. Like you're going to start Robert Williams. This guy's going to be gone, and you're just going to have to make do with what you got. I feel the same way about Teague. It's like, why is Teague getting all these minutes? Teague has a solid game this game, but I mean, the fact that Pritchard gets 4 minutes, it's just like maybe it's Danny Ainge his entire time was like begging Brad just to stop playing these guys, and he had enough, and he just ships them off for basically nothing. We get under this the luxury, but yeah, it's a bittersweet thing. I'm happy to see Tice go. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think Mo Wagner and Luke Cornett make us a better team.
You know what? This is exactly like it's exactly like in Moneyball when Billy Bean goes in and he trades away Carlos Pena so that they
Yep.
have to play Hattenberg at first base. It doesn't make the team better, but it's what we need for that moment. And as much as I hated to see Tice go, because I think that we are a better on paper team with Tice, I'm encouraged by the last few games. And again, like, you're right. He's a great backup center. And if we're gonna keep starting him at center, it was never gonna get us where we needed to be. At the end of that game, I was encouraged by the fight we had, but in the last minute and 30, when we're down by 2 points, and with the minute and 30 left, it's 119 to 121, which was the final score. We had Marcus Smart huck and miss a three. Marcus Smart's fourth quarter 3-point percentage has got to be like 10%. He's got to stop doing that. Then Kemba dribbles around and gets blocked. Then Smart gets blocked. And then we fail twice to inbound the ball. And then Tice gets open and misses the game winner. So in the last minute and a half, we have Smart, Kemba, Smart again, and Tice. Where is Jaylen Brown? Where is Jason Tatum? Why can't we get them the ball to take the game-winning shot at the end of the game? Like, that needs to happen, and that was frustrating for me.
You know what's weird is like when we should be moving the ball around, finding the best shot, just trusting Brad's system or whatever. Like when it's like the third quarter and we have a lead and we just stop like playing basketball, like we just start playing town league basketball. It's like we can't seem to get it out of this team just to keep on with the same system that got us the lead. But then when it comes down to when the game is on the line and you just have to give the ball to your best player and have everyone else's get out of the way, we can't seem to do that. And that's what it comes down to is like my big problem with guys like Kemba Walker and guys like Tice is not the fact that I think they're trash players. It's that in these moments, these big moments, or just in the grand scope of the game, when in these kind of pivotal like possessions, these guys are taking the shots over our two best shot makers. And I feel like this is why I asked last time, like, when does Brad stop getting the pass? It has to be on him. And I don't know if it's him in the late game just saying, hey, we have there's just 5 seconds left. Let's get the best shot. And whoever shoots it, shoots it. I don't know if that's what he's telling them, but I imagine that's the only way that Daniel Tice takes the game winning shot, right?
Yeah, I agree. And in the Thunder game, there's actually a lot. Like, we won the game, like we had a crazy run on the fourth, but there was so much that frustrated me. And I think it's on Brad, and I want to get into that later. But we go through this Bucks game, we get the loss, it's tough. And then we get into the trade deadline on Thursday. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, let's get into our moves because honestly, like we said before, like I think it was pretty successful. I was pretty hyped about the day.
The Fournier trade was literally like perfect, exactly what we needed. I didn't realize he was averaging 19.7 points a game, but like, hell yeah, where did that come from? He's shooting 46 and 39%. He's 6'7". He's gonna be able to guard like a decent range of players.
Yeah,
He's not the best defender, but like at least he's long. He's not Jeff Teague being our off the bench scoring option. He's gonna come off the bench and be able to guard 2 through 4 to the best of his ability. I've never been a huge fan of his game, but he was big for them in that Raptors series when they managed to steal a game against them. And he's just a very solid, like, come off the bench and score points player, which is all what we've been begging for all year from coming out of the offseason. Like, get anyone to just help us. And looking at like the trades for Vucevic and Aaron Gordon, I know we were finalists for them, but it seems like we definitely would have had to trade Marcus Smart to get them. And like Oladipo gets traded for Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk, and you look at that and you're like, man, like why couldn't we get such a great player like for some average players? But the Celtics don't have average players. We have good players and bad players. And so I didn't want to trade a good player. I didn't want to trade one of our like Smart, Kemba, Tatum, Brown. So trading 2 seconds to just take Fournier, I love it. I mean, if he plays well, I'm down to re-sign him.
No, totally. I think that like not trading Marcus Smart was almost as surprising as Kyle Lowry not going anywhere. Like I really thought it was in the bag that like he was just going to be gone. And we like it's hard to imagine him wearing any other uniform than like a Celtics uni, but
that'd
like
be tough.
I really came to terms with it. I was like, we're really about to trade Marcus Smart, some picks and whatever else for Aaron Gordon and Fournier. I thought that was going to be it. I think we get the piece that honestly is more like in line with what exactly we needed. which was Fournier. I was keeping an eye on this guy. I think that his improvement over his career is actually pretty impressive. Like he shoots very well off the dribble, over 40% off the dribble. And that's like the kind of playmaker I'm looking for. That's like when we're talking about possible replacements for guys like Semi Ojeleye and Grant Williams, it was like, is the price tag enough that like that gap between the two players like makes it worth it? Fournier is like substantially a better scoring option and a secondary playmaker over guys that don't really like listen. I like Grant. I like Semi. Like there are guys and they're great on defense. I think they're probably better, a little bit better than Fournier, but what he can do off the ball, what he can do off the dribble, like his shooting ability, it just opens up the floor for guys like Pritchard, guys like Grant Williams or Semi Ojeleye to get open in the corner. They're going to have a lot more opportunities just because we have another guy on the bench that you actually have to guard past 25 feet. And that's like huge. That's something we haven't had in the last 2 years. So he's a great addition. I would say that losing Tice and gaining him like puts us over like a little bit of an edge of like not just being a play-in tournament team, but I feel like we just got to see how this group meshes because honestly, we have no idea.
Yeah, we haven't seen him play, but I think that of all the guys in the league right now that are putting up 20 a game, he definitely has to have one of the smallest egos. Like I feel like he's going to be
That's
fine
true.
to come off the bench and play his role. Like if we got Aaron Gordon, I feel like he would have wanted the ball a lot and would have wanted
Yeah,
to be one of our playmakers. But I see Fournier as just like the perfect guy to come in and supplement these guys.
totally.
I googled his last name, which everyone said not to do, and that was a humongous mistake. Like I'm begging you, listening. I
I was
know
kind
that
of
like
hoping you wouldn't say that on the podcast, but
the reason I did it is because everyone told me not to. So I understand like the traumatic irony of like me telling you
yeah.
not to, but like, good God, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. What an unfortunate name to have.
The only
Just
thing
to just
that
had
the
to
only
get that
thing
out
bad
there.
about your day that day was that happening.
Yeah, I was initially pretty upset about the Tice for Wagner trade, but I see him like Wagner as being like a good stretch for to grow with. He's only in his third year in the league, and Luke Cornett played awesome the other day. And I
He
know that he's
did.
not going to give us that every night, but like I'm more comfortable with him than I when he checked into the game, I genuinely was like, who's on the floor right? Who is this? I didn't even know we got him until he was on the floor playing for us. That was shocking. But we looked up and Robert Williams had an awesome game against the Bucks the next night, and we were talking a lot of talks to get Drummond in the buyout. And Drummond's a guy we've been talking about forever. Are you disappointed that he's ended up in the Lakers?
I'll go back and forth with it. I think that the kind of guy he is, the amount that they're going to have to end up paying him, I think the Lakers are just saying, I mean, they're obviously in win now mode. We should be in that same place, but it just because it doesn't align, like we can't use your trade exception just to sign Andre Drummond, right? Like,
Yeah.
does it align with their plans fully? Also, how much worse is Wagner and Cornette than like what Tice was giving us? I understand it's worse, but the level of better that Robert Williams can be, I think offsets that entire effect. The fact that we're under the luxury and have a trade exception coming in the offseason, like we can make some serious moves. And I think that like if I'm going to choose between Drummond and kind of being screwed and or having Luke Cornett and Mo Wagner for the rest of the season and having Robert Williams get extra minutes, I'm going to take that second option every day. And I don't know if I don't want to go back to games, but Robert Williams can pass the ball. I don't know if you've seen this, but dude, the guy could be a playmaker if he makes like, if he has more minutes. Like, this is a guy that I think that we could run a little bit through, like the way that we did with Horford, have him on like the elbow, see what happens if we get the ball to him. I just think that these trades are more than the effect of what we lost. It's the fact of who gets more opportunity. Kind of the same thing with the people off the bench. It takes pressure off of Pritchard. Like it's not just getting Fournier, it's not just losing Tice. It's what happens because of that. That I think this makes us such a better team. Now, I'm just so biased against Tice, but I think it's going to be honestly perfect backup for Vucevic. The Bulls, they're moving in a really great direction.
I do like Tyson the Bulls. I hope that he gets a chance to prove something. The Bulls are like going to contend now for a
Yeah,
top four
no, they're
seed,
in
I
there.
think. Yeah, Drummond, I was hoping we would get, but I'm not too upset that we didn't because I agree. I think that it would have been tough to see Robert Williams like come out like this and then all of a sudden get shot in
Yeah.
the back to getting 15 minutes a game because you definitely can't play those two guys
And
at
then
the
we got
same
four
time.
centers.
Yeah, and then we got four centers. Drummond also like everyone in the NBA that like has had Drummond on their team just like not players, but like media is like Drummond is not the guy. He doesn't have the work ethic. He doesn't try on defense. He's a career loser. Like I think
Mhm.
that the Lakers are going to get the best out of him. I think that we could have
Yeah,
got the best out of him, but it's not like we missed out. Like I'd rather have Vucevic than Drummond. I think like Drummond,
totally.
he puts up the stats, but so does Robert Williams, and we can jump back and forth between the deadline and these games. But Robert Williams in his game starting filled out the entire stat sheet. 7 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Like you said, he's dishing out the ball, 5 blocks and 2 steals. He's very high energy, and he's proven a lot this year. I think that he should definitely keep starting over Tristan Thompson, in my opinion.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
Thompson, I don't know when he's going to be ready. I thought that he was going to be gone after this deadline, but I think I would have rather traded Thompson than Tice, but Thompson grabs more rebounds. So you take what you can get.
Dude, I think, and there's all those rumors coming out that this team resents Thompson, that he keeps on going out. That's why he's always under COVID protocol without getting COVID. And I think as much as like Brad will say that's rumors, as much as people on the team will say that's a bunch of BS, you can see it on the floor. Like they're in no way like trusting of Thompson. This is like in my opinion, is a guy we should consider buying out. Like just because of the way that Robert Williams and Mo Wagner is a guy that like is similar in the way that like you want to give him in to see what he can do. He's in his early 20s. He has 3-point like making capability. And Luke Cornett, I mean, just being tall and being like having the energy, wanting to prove something, automatically, in my opinion, puts you past what Tristan Thompson has given us this year. And like again, you got to clear out like the junk. I think if anything, like if we learned from this year is like you got to clear out the attic because we've had so much just crap sitting on this roster that just makes Brad feel like he has to play 14 people. Like maybe it's time for us to open up some roster spots, like take a look at like what we can get in the off season and just say like who we got is who we got. If you're not with us, you're against us and goodbye. I feel like Thompson had the level of just like, I'm out and I don't want to play for this team anymore that I see from him is honestly like insulting.
Sorry, you froze for a second. Thompson, I want to keep just for the extent purpose of Robert Williams has had some health issues in his career, and if we lost Robert Williams, we would be stuck with just Taco, Cornett, and Wagner, and I can't
How
picture
much,
that taking us
but
very
like, is
far.
that worse? Is that worse than having Tristan Thompson out there? Like, is seeing what we have from these guys, and then if nothing, releasing them, is that worse? Like,
I actually think that we can contend, and I'd like to keep Thompson around. Like I think that if we had another piece to bring in, then I'd be okay with buying him out. But I don't need to bring him back in free agency. In free agency, we need to find someone else for that spot. But I think that he just, even if he doesn't play, like because he's the attitude or whatever, I think from an injury perspective, like I think that we need to keep him around as a safety valve. Um, and I mean, Taco has getting more minutes with him being out, so that would be
yeah,
a plus of it. Taco, now that he's like getting some extended minutes on the floor, he actually is moving back and forth pretty quickly. I feel like his athleticism has increased a ton. I still feel like for someone his height, he should be getting every rebound, but I'm not I'm not ready to patronize him for that yet because he's just finally getting into the rotation. I hope that
yeah,
continues. You want to jump into this next Bucks game?
yeah. I
I
was about
felt
to say
like
8 minutes for Taco. This Bucks win. Listen,
came
I'm
in
not.
the first quarter.
Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna be the guy who's like, see, like, look, we get rid of Tyson. Look, we beat the Bucks. We got to see what we got with this team, but this was certainly a great sign. Luke Cornett doesn't play this game. He doesn't win as this game. But Mo Wagner puts in, he hits a shot, grabs like 5 or so rebounds. Robert Williams, though, like like you said, 7, 6, and 9, like that's like the kind of stat line we're looking for. A little bit more like Horford, a little bit more like versatility. He does a lot more things than Tice can do. And that's not like even a rub on Tice at that point. He just has a crap ton of potential. I love just like watching him out there, seeing like what he can do. But at the end of the day, this is about Tatum, that like
Yep.
just like having a Tatum game. This is about Marcus Smart shaking off the rust in that last Bucks loss. And honestly, Kemba doesn't shoot the ball that well, but he's out there making plays. This is like all we need from like the starting lineup. If we're gonna eventually have guys like Fournier coming off the bench and providing somewhat of a kick in the second unit. Like we don't need like some heroics going on here. I think this is like a very good sign. Like I think like we match up pretty well against some teams like the Bucks. And honestly, like outside the Nets, any team in the Eastern Conference.
I agree. This team had renewed energy. I felt like in the Bucks game, like we jumped out to a huge lead. We held Giannis to under 20 points again, and I think that what we said last time was that for this trade deadline, even if we don't make a blockbuster, we don't get another All Star. We need to just stir the pot. We need to like just
Yeah.
get some
We need
guys
some
in
new
and move some
blood.
guys out, just so that it feels like a different team, which I feel like it does. It feels just like a little bit of a new situation, and I feel like that will motivate guys to come out and fight because we lose a close game and then we make some moves and then we come out and we play great. I hope that continues. Tatum always on national TV. He just has to go off.
Yeah.
He was able to do that. It was great stuff from the Bucks game. We jumped out to a huge lead and that gave us some taco minutes at the end as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Now, I do want to point out Pritchard here. He gets 20 minutes off the bench and he does some great things. The only part about this Fournier trade that I'm a little bit worried about is if we're just going to push Pritchard by the wayside and say that, Fournier is our guy off the bench. Because this is like a guy that I thought might get traded just because of his potential. But I want to see what happens when he plays 20 minutes against good teams like the Bucks. I don't particularly care how he does against the Cavs or, this year's Toronto Raptors team or anything. Like, I want to see him play against good players because I legitimately think that this guy could be a part of the future. Getting rid of like Kemba's contract or other things is going to be hard, but like him playing like a big role, whether it be off the bench or starting a few games when Kemba's hurt, like I just think that's a huge part of our future. Like we can't really sacrifice on that. If anything, it's he's going to be the kind of next guy on the block, in my opinion. Like, I feel like now that Smart has like survived this trade deadline, I feel like going forward, we're going to hear Pritchard and a lot of like trade talk rumors and stuff. I just think that's on a little bit of like a caveat about the Fournier trade that I feel like we didn't mention before.
I like Pritchard a lot, and I hope that when Romeo comes back, we're still leaning on Pritchard a bit more because Romeo has a lot.
Romeo's not coming back. Romeo's gone. The fact that like it's over, like it's kind of like it was almost like a dream. Like we got this guy who's like the best high school recruit. Like we didn't get Tyler Hero, but we got Romeo Langford.
We looked up in December, like when's Romeo coming back? It's about to be April. Like
he finds new ways to be out. Like it's insane. Yeah.
It's so insane. So in the Thunder game, Pritchard gets 23 minutes and he has an even better game than in the Bucks game. 6 of 10, 12 points. And I thought that when him and Carson were on the floor, they had a lot of good chemistry. There was a lot of
we've talked about this before.
Pritchard, Carson, and Taco, I thought was a good lineup. Like those two guys were able to move the ball around and get to the rim, and they shot well that night. Carson in 16 minutes had 12 points. I've been begging us to play Carson all year. I think he's better than Naismith is right now, and he's a playmaker. And I'm really excited to see like us off the bench using these guys more. The Thunder game was troubling for a bit because Tatum had just no effort whatsoever. Like he didn't play defense for the first half. Jaylen Brown was like 1 of 10 from 3 in the first quarter, something ridiculous. Like the Thunder did not have a really suitable inside presence. Like on paper, like Moses Brown puts up 19 rebounds and a half against us.
Looks like Wilt.
But like we're just pulling up from 3. Like Brown is just like beginning of the shot clock. I hate that. Like he's so good at getting to the rim and finishing down there. The first half of that game pissed me off. I was like that was a game where I was mad at Brad. Like why is our Smart in transition is just like everyone's still on defense and Smart's pulling up from 3. What are we doing? Like it was very frustrating the first half of that game.
No, for sure. I mean, Moses, like much like the other Moses, parting the Red Sea all the way to the basket, just like clearing the paint, just absolutely dominating us. But who comes up big in the end? Robert Williams, finishing with 14 rebounds, exactly the game we kind of need for him. And kind of like, I like what you said about Carson and Pritchard, because something that like I didn't always give Carson credit for is like, this guy's kind of scrappy. Like, I feel like he's the kind of like punch you in the mouth type point guard that like we're going to need because like you said, Tatum came out with no energy. And that's the thing about Tatum that bothers me. It's like, he's kind of too cool for school. Like he's always like he doesn't want to be that guy. Looks like he's trying hard. Like he's swaggy. He's like laid back, and we just need some more fight. And I feel like if Marcus Smart can kind of apply some of his energy to Carson Edwards, and Carson can kind of be this guy that it doesn't matter if he gets 4 quick fouls, if he's just like annoying to play against, if he's getting
Yeah.
underneath your skin, he's got that low center of gravity, and Jalen Rose said it that like the hardest thing for like these talented, big, lanky point guards, that like the point guards of the future, is facing a guy who's short with everything to prove. And that's what Carson is. I feel like he's not this defensive liability that we're worried about. When he was getting drafted, that was the whole like thing about him, was like, oh yeah, he's a shot maker, but his defense isn't going to translate to the NBA. And I disagree. I think that energy alone, I think he showed me some great things out there. Him and Pritchard is an interesting kind of one too. I think they both have shot making ability. It just makes me like a little bit less worried about like when Marcus Smart and Campbell were kind of like playing hot potato with who was healthy and not. Like these guys, they could be the reason why we don't have to be worried about their fragility. But yeah, this was a game that in the first half was looking like oh, like I guess the season's just kind of over. Kind of a make or break game for morale.
Yeah, it's because coming off the Bucks win, like the Thunder traded away some pieces. Like they are looking to rebuild. They're benching Horford now. Horford hates playing us. I think that's why that happened that day.
Yeah, what a Dodger,
huh? But yeah, Carson's like one of the fastest guys on the floor whenever he's out there, and he's built like you're not going to back him down all the way to the basket. If you're a guard. So I was very happy with him getting the minutes he got, and coming into the third quarter, we had a decent third quarter, and we were able to go on a crazy run, a 19-0 run for a while, and it was facilitated by Luke Cornett, who again I did not know was on our roster until he was on the floor. He hit back-to-back threes, which helped give us the lead and spark that run. And it didn't show up on the stat sheet very much, but he played great defense. Like he took away the paint from them, which I just, having never heard of him before, was just shocked to see the amount, the impact he had.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this guy is 7'2". Like, I know it's kind of fun to like make fun of him. He is like a meme from like the Knicks and like the Knicks days and like whatnot. Like, but we can't deny that like just having a big guy like will help our team immensely. Like that was the thing, that Tice, like solid player, 3-point hitter, lots of experience, but just 6'8". Like, and you have a guy who's as tall as LeBron, like guarding the paint. Like, what's gonna happen? And now you see like the effect. Like, you get a guy in there who has some length, who like has again everything to prove. I think it's going to be really good for us. That's why I say, like, do we really want to be throwing Thompson out there in these games? Like Tristan Thompson against the Thunder. Is that the kind of energy that we're looking for? Like, is that the kind of like vibe that like we think is going to equal like wins in the end? I just think it's a double whammy. We get to see what these guys are made of. Luke Cornett, he's 25. Like, who knows what this guy can be if given the right situation.
Based on what I've seen so far, I'd like him to get more minutes than Mo does, at least for the time being. And also in that game, I liked when Moses was giving us the business, that we just threw Taco in for like 5 minutes and he grabs 4 points and 5 rebounds. I like the idea of like when they have a guy that's just killing us inside, just throw Taco in. And even if Taco doesn't eat up all the boards, he just has so much to have to deal with that you force other guys to have to be around the rim. And because Taco is too much to handle for one guy at least.
Yeah.
So I was happy with a lot in the Thunder game, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this team with our new guys, and Fournier is going to start playing, and I feel like we have a shot to go on a run and get back to the contenders we're supposed to be. I'm really excited after this trade deadline.
I mean, we got some contenders who were just kind of in the same spot as us. Like the Eastern Conference is wild. If we can get like a 5-game winning streak going, I'm pretty sure that shoots us up to like the 4th seed, like,
yep.
And we have like teams like the Miami Heat that are just starting to kind of get like the ball rolling. There's some games to be played. Call me crazy, but like when people were talking about the Celtics kind of in past tense, like, oh, what could have been this season? Like the fact that we have Tatum, Smart, Brown, like it just like on any, like who wants to play us? Like, because that's the thing. People get like so down like on this team or down on like teams with high expectations. But at the end of the day, do the Bucks want to play us in the playoffs? Like, do they want to face us in the first round? Because that's a bitch for them. If they end up getting like the 2nd seed and we get the 7th or something, like I don't think that they want to face the Celtics. I think they'd much rather face like a different Eastern Conference team. Like we could be that kind of like, hey, like they've been struggling, but you don't want to face them. Kind of like the same way the Blazers kind of were for the longest time.
I think that any team should be afraid to play us in the playoffs
Yeah.
because we're a team that plays to our competition. And in a 7 game series, I very much believe in us to fight through that. Because
Yeah.
now that Tatum and Brown and Smart are a couple of years, like they've had some, like they're becoming veterans. I know they're still very young, but like for young players, you think about the amount of playoff experience they've had compared to guys like Devin Booker, who have been in the league for just as long, if not longer. They're experienced and they know what it takes to win and they know what it feels like to lose. So when we get to the playoffs, like I think people should watch out for us. And I say when, I really don't want to play a play-in game. That would suck to have the season come down to that. So we need to climb the standings first, but I think we have the tools to do it so far.
Yeah, totally.
I'm encouraged by this week. Before we get into the upcoming schedule, do you want to run through our MVP candidates so far, just for a little fun?
Yeah, I just think it's worth talking about because LeBron going down, Embiid going down, it kind of opens things up. And
Yep.
like I had to, it really was to give a shout out to a player that we both really, really like. Is it Dame time? Is it Dame's MVP year? I think the door is open. I think the fact of what he did without McCollum for the longest time, powering that team 27-18 without McCollum and Nurkic for the longest, and now McCollum's back. If they can start winning games and they get like the third, even the second seed in the West, dude, he's gonna have a very strong case.
I think that it was going to go to LeBron if he stayed healthy. I think that
Totally.
LeBron's been screwed one too many times, that the storyline finally caught up to him again, that now he's the underdog. I don't think anyone wants to see Giannis win it again. So no matter what happens there, I don't think it's going to him. Embiid was really making a case, but you're right, he's gotten hurt. The other two guys, so I want Dame to win it. The other two guys I think they're a threat to him are Jokic and Harden.
Yep.
Jokic has this, the Nuggets have the same record as them. Jokic is putting up 27, 11, and 8, shooting 57% from the field and 43% from three. That's an MVP season right there. Like he's playing great. And I think between him and Dame, at least, it's going to come down to who can carry their team to finish higher in the West. I think that it'd be hard to say that Dame's the MVP over him if Dame is the 6th seed and the Nuggets can climb up to the 3 seed. And Dame, I root for Dame through everything. And the Blazers, Nurkic is back, McCollum's back. They got Norman Powell, who I actually think is a great fit for them. I feel like with Powell and
totally.
Covington being 3 and D guys, they actually have finally found like the best version of their team. At first, I was upset they traded Gary Trent because I thought that he was good for them, but
Yeah.
Powell is putting up like 20. Very solid wing defender. Covington is like a first team all defense guy. So their lineup is looking scary, at least the 5 guys they can go out with.
No, for sure. Because in those, moments in the game where double team Dave swing to McCollum, then they get on McCollum, swing to the third guy. That guy's now Norman Powell, who's like probably like has shown maybe the most impressive growth out of like any Eastern Conference player in the last like few years. I mean, listen, I think that the important thing to remember is that MVP is really all about optics at the end of the day. Like if it went to the most valuable player, like actually, like LeBron win every year, we all know that. But optics mean everything. And that's why I feel like you have to look at Harden. Harden's having this very similar season to when he won the MVP not so long ago. But
Yep.
Can the writers really give him votes after what he did to the Rockets? Like, it's about optics. A lot of this is PR. And like, it's going to be really hard for them to hand it over to him after what he did and the behavior that he put on. The same kind of goes for, I mean, the thing about Jokic is that he is amazing. Everything he does is amazing. The Nuggets would be nowhere with him, but he doesn't have that pop. He doesn't have all the clutch shots that Dame has that makes it seem like he's clawing his team to that record, even though he is. I think that matters. And then I think the same can kind of be said for Embiid being, hurt all the time. Luka not having the record that, they're supposed to. I think you have to look at like, all right, like who are the writers going to like vote for? And I think if Dame keeps on hitting like the insane amount of clutch shots that he's hit this year, it's just going to be a really hard thing for him to be denied. He has and I looked it up the other day because I was sitting on the couch watching a Blazers game. My roommate says that Dame could never win MVP. And that just didn't sound right to me. I looked up his stats. This guy has very similar numbers to Steph Curry, like career numbers, like very similar to Steph Curry. I think he's due. I just think he's due. he's not a young guy anymore. He's not this like, oh, surprise, surprise, this guy out of a small college, like dominating. No, he's
He
been
won
here.
the bubble MVP. He's already got the first step to get
Yeah,
there.
they could say that baby steps in this instance, but I mean, just because of the nature of the award, I think that he's giving himself the best like shot possible this year. And with Giannis, like you said, Giannis is having maybe even a better season this MVP years, but you can't give a guy 3 years in a row. Giannis would have to average 40, 18, and 6 to even be considered in this year's MVP, which is unfortunate because he honestly is having a great season.
I totally agree about the optics with Harden, where Harden is having like he puts up crazy numbers every year. He's almost averaging a triple double, and he is a huge piece for the Nets. But the Nets have Kyrie and Blake now, and LaMarcus, and KD's going to come back eventually. So it's hard to give the MVP to a guy on just a very stacked team. Like they can be second in the East, but Kyrie has helped out a lot with that too. And especially because he demands a trade, and the Rockets fall apart. It's not like the perfect storyline like it was when it was Russell Westbrook or someone like that. So if you look at, Dame and Embiid and Jokic and Harden on equal footing, I think having already won an MVP and the situation he's in on the Nets, I think he's definitely the odd man out right there.
Yeah.
And Embiid can make a case if he gets healthy again. But I think between Dame and Jokic, it'll depend a lot on where they can finish in their record. But I agree that like when you think about those teams, even though Jokic is like totally the centerpiece for the Nuggets, Dame is the guy you think of when you're thinking of like who can carry a team the most in the league. So I hope it's Dame time. I really do.
Yeah, no, me too. But let's look forward.
Yeah, we're looking at this week. We play the Pelicans. Tough loss against the Pelicans last time we played them. Would be really nice if we can get Fournier to come out there. We can get a win over them. The Mavericks are just like us. They've been struggling this year. That's going to be a national TV game. And Luka, last time we played them, hit a dagger on us, game winner at the end. So hopefully Tatum comes out for revenge, wants to prove himself over this young guy. We play the Rockets. Hopefully that's a free win. It needs to be. Then the Hornets. Hornets is a very important game now. Like we're not going to have a lot of games left against Eastern Conference teams we're fighting against. They have basically the same record as us. They're a half a game ahead. So that's a game we really need to win, especially now that they've lost LaMelo.
Yeah. I mean, something that you had to give us credit for this season, if there's really any kind of like positives, is that we rarely are losing to the same team like twice in a row. And you look at like the Pelicans game and the Mavs game, and those are two games that really came down to the wire. The Pelicans game, we were like down big in, and then we like came back and it became this like honestly really entertaining game. The Mavs game, we got Luka Magics. Like it's like it just happens. Like Luka just does you like that sometimes. But I like our chances against these teams, given the second time around. That's one thing I'll give Brad credit on in this season is like I think the Hawks are really the only team that we've kind of like lost and then lost again to. So, I'm feeling pretty good. I just want to like put in real quickly, like Zion might be my favorite player to watch this like year now. Like it's actually insane when they figured out that their best offense is giving Zion the ball at the top of the key and him just charging in there like a running back. Like it's actually unstoppable. And like
point guard Zion is fun.
It's so fun, dude. I don't know what they're gonna do with like Ingram and that whole situation because Ingram still seems to think like it's his team, but it's gonna be a fun game. Like watching like us try to stop Zion with our kind of wing defenders. Luke Cornett, maybe Luke Cornett is the guy, is the Zion stopper. I don't know. It's
Taco
gonna be a fun
and Zion
week.
had an epic battle in college. I'd love to see the Taco and Zion rematch.
Oh hell yeah!
Coming this week. The Pelicans are interesting. Zion, I think that now that the media doesn't like report every single step he takes, I definitely like him more. So props to him for having a good year this year. He's like people really doubted him when he wasn't immediately an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was a good week. This was a much needed sense of calm for us and sense of hope. And I have more trust in Danny Ainge than I did 4 days ago. That is going to do it for us on this week for a Double Take Celtics. You can subscribe on iTunes at Celtics Double Take, or go find Double Take on YouTube. For extra credit, follow at the Double Take Show on Instagram. James, any last words?
Listen, Daniel Tice, we've had a rocky past, but I just want you to know there's no bad blood, and I want you to do well, and I'm rooting for you. I hope you and the Bulls have a great tenure together. But bye, Daniel Tice.
you gotta have respect for the dead. Daniel Tice, we it's hard to say we'll miss you, but we will squash the beef, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah, we'll be keeping up with it. We'll be keeping up with him in his career.
We'll be seeing you. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Love it. All right, go Celtics. We will see you next week.
Take care.